think I'm live. Let's see.
Hang on, little Joe. We're going live.
All right, there we are. We're live. Live that. Okay, I'll take that over there. I'll take that. I was watching Sticks. And of course, his reaction. And there we go. Okay, we're all set. We're going to pop in to the chat. Hey. All right. Calm down. Calm down, dog. You know, for someone so little and filthy, you really are very loud. I know. You're sniffing everything. Welcome to the live stream. Surprise! Live stream. Lots of live streams this week, Joan. Lots of live streams. You don't care. You're a dog. You're filthy. What the hell were you walking through? Let's see if we can get a few people to come in here. I just posted that we're going live. We throw it live. I'm just doing a short live stream because I figure why not? Why not react to some of this stuff live? And I always react to stuff. You know, this is all my opinion. But YouTube, stupid YouTube. So chances are when I'm seeing the news item, I haven't read it at all. I think most of you know that by now. So there's a lot of reaction to the Trump news. I'm sure there'll be more tomorrow, but I thought I would get into it now. Hot live stream. Yeah, I know nobody's here, but that's okay. Some people will come in. But I am bailing before 10 so I can watch Razor Fist. He's good at this. He's very good. He's very good. I'm also going to watch Sticks. But first I'm going to give my reaction, dog. My reaction. You understand what I'm saying? You had cheesesteak tonight. It was very yummy. So there's lots of headlines, so let's get into it. For those of you who don't know, Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts. So what does this mean? Not a whole lot. Just a bunch of nonsense that the people in charge think is going to hurt his election chances, and the possibility that they're teeing him up for, I don't know if I can even say it on YouTube, but something very nasty. I don't think they'll get to him because there'll be a million appeals, and this trial is so wacky, even to a layman like me. I'm not a lawyer. But I think even someone who's not a lawyer could see that this is pretty much a kangaroo court. And the reason this is so bad is not even for Trump. It's because it sets a precedent now for other people to be taken to court over nonsense. And so that judges can say, oh, you don't have to actually find a crime to find him guilty. Who told you that? Who told you that back in civics class? You hate this guy politically. Find him guilty. Is basically the jury instructions. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it's pretty bad. So the idea, now we have this system where they can find you guilty on anything, and then you have to go back and appeal. And although you'll probably win the appeal, unless you've got deep pockets like Donald Trump, you know, you may be forced to make all sorts of concessions. You may be forced to plead to it. This is what happens in the United States already. When you're convicted of something or charged, they overcharge you. And this is also part of the reason law enforcement is so ineffective. Because now they could charge you with virtually anything for no reason. You know, oh, resisting arrest. Well, all I did was put my hand on the car. Oh, you touched the car. That's damaging federal property now. So all these things, they could just throw a bunch of charges hoping you'll go, well, if you just plead to two of them, you'll pay a fine and you'll be out of here today. That's the way it normally works. So they just want to get their pound of flesh, and Trump has refused to give it to them. So let's read some of the headlines. From WND, stand up and fight. Know your rights or you will lose them. Now, that doesn't mean actually do violence. I want to make that very clear. Do not get sucked into doing violence. Do not get sucked into it at all. That's the trap. They want you to come out and start swinging, so they could say, "See, these people were violent." I think I got something in my hair, doggy. Oh, you definitely got something. What was that? They want you to come out swinging, so they could call you the bad guy, and then that's it. Then you get caught and you go to jail, because again, selective enforcement means they're going to enforce it against you, not the crazy naked guy who punched you and your family. After conviction, Trump is the outsider Tribune again. Tribune again? Trump is the outsider Tribune again. The American Conservative. The outsider Tribune again. I don't know what that means, Tribune. Is that a reference to the Roman? Is that called a Tribune? Well, he's the outsider. Clearly now. That makes it very clear. And Sticks and Hammer says this won't impact the election much. I think it's impacting it a great deal. I think this makes it very clear to anybody who is left on the fence that this is a witch trial. And now I was arguing with some partisans tonight who are very happy, but unfortunately a lot of my older relatives, they don't really follow politics closely enough to know what's going on. They just don't. They continue to watch TV and read newspapers, and I try to tell them not to do it. I try to tell them, listen, you can't rely on those sources anymore. But they're older, they don't really understand the internet, and even people my age are like that too. They look at TV and newspapers, well, it's not that bad. No, it's that bad now. They're outright lying to you, I say. And most of the stuff you see in newspapers and TV came from the internet anyway, because the internet is so much faster. It's more efficient to use the internet to, exchange late-breaking headlines and on the newspaper as well than it would be to wait for the newspaper or somebody to go report on something and call it in. This isn't 1975. It's 2024. But sadly, a lot of people who are, my older relatives' age, and I'm talking people in their 70s and 80s, they just don't get that. These are boomers who, they have money, they always vote, but they typically are not internet savvy enough to really know that that's where the dialogue's happening. And the internet is blowing up with this stuff. Here's the post-millennial. Breaking: Donald Trump donation page crashes after flood of donations in response to New York City verdict. There you go, right there. That shows you right there. That's not artificial in any way. In any way. That is people going, F this, and donating to Trump. They're just donating to Trump. If I had even half the money that some of the other YouTubers had, I'd be donating to Trump too. Oh yeah. But you know me, I'm broke. This one really isn't about the verdict, but Jill Biden claims Trump can't put a sentence together while married to Joe Biden. This was another argument I just recently got into. Some of my Democratic friends are like, well, they complain about Biden, but Trump, he rambles. Trump doesn't ramble, he riffs. As an improver, I know what he's doing. He is doing a stream of consciousness thing, and it can get you into trouble. It's gotten me into trouble a couple of times, but when you're scrutinized as a guy like Trump, it can get you into a lot bigger trouble, seemingly. And that trouble then gets magnified by the media. And that's something my, again, Democrat relatives harp on constantly. But I saw it on TV. He said it. And, I always go back to one of the very early moments. Trump was in Japan as president, visiting the Japanese prime minister. And what they showed on the news was Trump dumping a box of food for the koi. And he just dumped the whole box in. And they said, see, look at that. He just dumped all the food. That fish is probably dead. Well, as it turned out, if you saw the extended footage, what happened was the Japanese prime minister came up, had a box, dumped it into the koi pond. Trump watched him and did the same exact thing. But the media took it so far out of context and tried to portray it like, oh, look at this clown. He's embarrassing us. And my older relatives, to this day, won't acknowledge that because they're already 40 news cycles, 4,000 news cycles past that, because it just runs so quickly now, even on TV, that, they're on to the next thing. I forget which one I got quoted tonight. Oh, Trump talking about Hannibal Lecter, as if I should be worried about that, as if that's not a total joke. And Trump just riffing. Here's the Washington Examiner. Trump guilty. Former president, inner circle, reacts to BS verdict. Yeah, I mean, it's just people are pissed. You have just cemented the Trump vote. I mean, it's cemented. It is ironclad, baby. Ironclad. I saw a guy in the store just before I came to do this. He was wearing the Trump hat and the Trump shirt, and I almost high-fived him in the store. I didn't want to bother the guy. I don't like to bother people. I'm that person. Like, I see people doing stuff, unless I'm sure they're going to react well. I'm not going to do that. But I was really tempted to go, hey, bro, fist bump, Trump 2024. Because I was that sort of amped up after hearing the verdict. And I had literally just heard it. So, and then, shopping didn't help. Looking at all the prices of things. Thanks a lot, Biden, you ass clown. Trump responds live to guilty verdict. The real verdict is going to be on November 5th by the people. Yeah, and he's going to win in a landslide. And I hope he arrests every one of these clowns. I'm done. I want to see the entire legislature in New York in chains, dragged in front of a judge, one picked by Trump. I want to see these idiots disbarred and thrown in prison. I want to see Alvin Bragg thrown in prison. I'll bet they'll find stuff on him, too. More anti-Trump collusion, political cartoon. Let's see. Free Father Teresa. Trump supporters and critics sound off on Trump's guilty verdict. That's from Fox News. Free Father Teresa. That's funny because Trump said even Mother Teresa couldn't beat these charges. And the ironic thing is, too, Trump is a New Yorker. Trump came up in New York. He loves that city. And this is the way the city treats him. This is how corrupt it is. In some respects, and again, I fully support Trump, but in some respects, Trump was part of the corrupt system in New York when he was there. And, not that he could have done much while he was in it, but, he learned to win in it, but still, he contributed to that mess in his own way. But, hindsight is 20/20. I'm sure he didn't think it would ever get this bad. I mean, who did? 20 years ago, if you had told me we'd be here, I just would have said, you're a lunatic. You're an absolute lunatic. The Republicans are running roughshod in Iraq. George Bush is out of his mind. Cheney is an evil Sith master. What the hell are you talking about? Donald Trump is never going to be president. Mea culpa, I guess. Win Red fundraising site crashes as Trump supporters rally after conviction in rigged trial. That is valiant news. Let's see. I'm just sticking to the Trump-related headlines at this point. Republican lawmakers release statement following verdict in President Trump's Manhattan sham trial. Oh, good, a strongly worded letter. That's just what we need from the Republicans. Here's what I would do if I was in Congress right now. I would try to organize the other Republicans. I would say, let's just not vote for anything now. Let's cut off everything. Everything until Trump goes free. Or let's pass could they pass a law freeing Trump? Making these charges go away? I'm not sure they can. But certainly I would be looking into cutting off every cent from New York City. And it's unbelievably corrupt government. Hot takes. Liberal gloat now, but this verdict may come back to haunt them. It absolutely will come back to haunt them. You morons have opened Pandora's box. Now imagine a situation where Trump's been president, and he did a good job, tries to fix things. Then maybe you get, I don't know, DeSantis, or lucky us, we get like Rand Paul or someone like that. And then we get 8 years of that. And the country's back in shape, doing well. Then the guy downstream from him, let's say, I don't know, some neocon manages to get in there. And, he gets in for a term, very corrupt. The Republicans go super corrupt again, let's say. And, Republican Joe Biden or something. And now we've got a Democrat running. And the guy turns out to be pretty honest. And, the Democrats have completely disbanded as a party, as you knew, and now have come back as a very populist party. But the guy running isn't a billionaire like Trump. He's some mayor who parlayed that into congressman, maybe parlayed it into governor. And, they just start taking him to court over nonsense. And they destroy him. Or a third-party candidate. Somebody who was really good. Not RFK Jr., but, somebody better. Like a Ross Perot, or, I don't know, like, what's his face from the 60s? George McGovern, somebody like that. And they railroad him, on some trumped-up charges. And he just doesn't have the money to fight it. That's what you've opened up, you absolute ass clowns. Oh my God, I've got someone in here. Koya Joey Official. I don't know who that is. Welcome. We have been on a downward slope for many years now, but as of now, we are standing on the edge of a cliff with a strong wind at our backs. I have never feared for the fall of our nation until now. Well, don't get blackpilled, but I understand. I understand your fear. I think... hold on a sec, Alex. I see your comment. It's very funny. Koya, I understand your fear. I really do. And I worry too. But we can't get blackpilled, and we are not in a bad situation yet. It's not great, but it's not. We're not at gulag levels of communism yet. It's rough. It's going to be rough to get out of this mess. But I think the first step is getting Trump back in the White House and hopefully capturing both houses at the same time. I think we have an excellent chance of doing that now with this witch trial. I think this has really hurt the Democrat brand. And as I've been predicting for a long time, I think now there's a good chance you're going to see the utter destruction of the Democratic Party in the next couple of election cycles. They will be reduced to such a minor party, a new party will emerge. And it will be a neocon style party versus MAGA. And so we may end up with three different parties. Be careful what you wish for, right? And those three parties may then, the two may gang up on the MAGA, or, a lot of stuff could happen with that major shift. But it could be very ugly in the next few years. Right, Joan? Alex Ogle, in your best British accent. Okay. Hello. Well, shit. Well, shit. Is that, like, shit is not a good word for the Brits to say. It's like, oh dear. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, poopy pots. Koya Joey Official. I have been saying all day, this is much bigger than Trump. That is true. I very much agree with that statement. It's bigger than Trump. But the upside is there are way more of us, normal people who just want to live their effing lives. And I believe the Democrats have awakened a giant once again. They did it once when they put Trump in office the first time, and now they're going to do it, and I think destroy the entire Democratic Party. I think you could turn most of New York State red at this point. Now imagine it's on the verge already. And again, it may take a few election cycles. The same thing in New Jersey. And as New York goes, it tends to be that way with New Jersey. Unfortunately, there will be a ton of rhinos. However, those rhinos may be looking to score political points, and they may find it extremely convenient to now prosecute the previous administrations or some of their figures for what is obvious malfeasance. Now, in the case of Trump, I think there's so much malfeasance. I mean, and who do these people have to protect them? Well, right now you got Kathy Hochul, the governor. Okay, she might protect you. Hey, you even got Joe Biden, and he might protect you. How long do you think Joe Biden's going to last? I don't think you're going to see Biden either way within the next 5 years. He'll be lucky to make it to the damn election, I say. And I'm not saying he's going to be horribly murdered or anything like that. I'm saying he's very old and he could die at any minute. He could die right now. He could be dead already. I don't even know it. Alex Ogle, movie proposal. Oh, I love it. Black Englishman arrives in the United States, picks up Ebonics, but can't change from his British accent. Comedy ensues. Maybe? I don't know. Need more of a plot. It feels like more of like a bit for like Airplane. Like somebody does a British version of Airplane and then they redo the jive scene, but they do it with English black guys. Koya Joey official. The Dem Party was hijacked by progressives many years ago. I agree there will be a reset to the older Dem Party. That's possible, but they've been avoiding it for so long, they may have passed the point of no return. They may have passed the point where their brand is so... I mean, keep in mind, there was, before the Democrats, another party. I believe it was the Whig Party. It was like the Whigs and the Federalists, right? And then the Republicans came in. And the Whigs were gone, and then I guess the Federalists became the Democrats, I think. Alex Ogle. All right, Sydney Sweeney to guest star. Does that help get my proposal funded? You got it. Let me have a script by Monday. I'm going to take a look at that. Greenlight that. I'll greenlight anything with Sydney Sweeney and the girls. Koya, Whig. Yeah, so the Whig Party went away. We could be witnessing the beginning of that. But that just means, what that means is the new party is essentially going to be completely built from the ground up by these horrible people. So they're just going to rebrand. And this is something that Marxists do all the time. So imagine a new party that is even more Marxist than the Democrats. That's probably what they'll go for. But initially what they'll have to do is they'll have to try to leverage populism in order to get the votes and get in to do something. And then they're going to have to be... It'll take them many decades to build that back up. And they want to accelerate that as much as possible. So, but the longer they avoid it, the longer it's going to take to rebuild the new party. Koya, is that sweet tea or a friendly dark beer as your partner? This is unsweetened iced tea with lemon in it. No sugar. No sugar. I'm not a Southerner. Arden is here. The courts just made Trump even more relatable to the average person. Hey, Tony. Hey, Arden. Yeah. Yeah. Because everybody can relate to going to court. Just about. I mean, I went to court when I went for my divorce. And I found the entire proceedings. Even though I had a relatively... I'm not trying to dump on my ex, but I had a relatively carefree divorce proceeding. It was still... I still didn't like the judge's attitude, I got to be honest. I mean, he was very sort of clinical about it, but I just thought, man, if I had a real problem here, I would be very tense indeed. But fortunately, it was over within an hour. Alex Ogle. The Tory party warped into the Conservatives in the UK. They are the oldest political party in the world. Indeed, they could be the first in a democratic system. They are on the way to obliteration. Yep. Yep, because they ignored their base. They could have capitalized on their gains, and a lot of people on the Lotus Eaters were very hopeful of this at the time, that they could have capitalized on the gains. They had won on Brexit. They wanted to win on the immigration issue, and restore England, restore the not the British Empire, but restore England to some semblance of greatness and dignity. Instead, they've completely sold people down the river, and they are being punished for it, and quite rightly so. They should be thrown into the dustbin of history and a new party. And it's a lot easier to start a new party in the UK than it is in the United States. It's not quite, the scale is smaller country-wise. It's just a lot of bureaucracy. I say Nigel Farage should lead a new party and just obliterate these clowns. Kaya, sorry, Joey official. Oh my God, unsweet tea? Not allowed here in Alabama. LOL. Oh, you guys down south love that sweet tea. And your barbecue. That's a lot of sugar. That's a lot of sugar, my friend. Alex, it'll be interesting to see just how far the Democratic Party want to push with this totalitarian agenda in defiance of the American populace. I don't, after this election, I don't think they have anywhere to go. This is it. They have jumped the shark. People are pissed. And again, it all comes back to the economy. I just went to the store. You could drop the prices to, the prices from 1969 from now until the election. And first off, that ain't going to happen. But let's say Joe Biden pulled a miracle out of his butt and dropped, gas to 99 cents, and suddenly I was raking in the dough. Yeah, I still wouldn't vote for that ass clown, and most people are cemented in there. The next step, unfortunately, is going to be the Democrats resign to their defeat and saying, well, let's see how much damage we can do on the way out the door. Ardent, Canada's original Conservatives parties disintegrated in the 90s under the first female prime minister. Diversity is our strength. It is not, obviously. And despite well-meaning women, I think most women are ill-suited for leadership, with very rare exceptions. The reason being is, in order to be a leader, you have to be very competitive. And the nurturing instinct really blunts that in a lot of women. And I'm not saying that as a slam against all women. But you have to be able to acknowledge that. Like, Margaret Thatcher was the exception, not the rule. She was very based. She could say, she would sort of ignore that while doing her policies. Sort of. But I think there's a lot of women I know, and they're very fine women, and some of them are very Republican. They have a weakness for... They have a nurturing instinct that it's very hard to shake. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if they can acknowledge that, then they can overcome that. And it's not, and again, I'm not slamming women. I'm just saying it's just like aggression in men. Like men have aggression, and you have to conquer that, or else you'll be punching people in the face every time you get pissed off. I mean, men conquer that because we have to. Women have a nurturing instinct they haven't been forced to conquer yet. Some of them do, some of them don't. So Teros Seni Seros, Joe Biden 2025? That doesn't make any sense, dude. 2025? What does that mean? There's not an election in 2025. Alex Ogle at Ardent. Yes, I hate the progressive conservatives. Ardent, Joe Biden would grope the shark. Alex Ogle, Ardent Party, ha ha. Ardent, Thatcher, Queen Victoria, and Queen Elizabeth, definite exceptions. Yeah, there are exceptions. Alex Ogle, the only good female leader in the UK was Maggie. However, Liz Truss has interesting things to say to Connor on the Lotus Eaters. I kind of want to go back and see that, but I haven't yet. I know Carl is trending. And he's kind of upset about it. Not like it's bothering him, but it's just kind of funny. Ardent, Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to have a bit of that. To me, the jury's a little out on that because Marjorie doesn't have real power yet, but we'll see. The person who I like, but I kind of worry about, who may be VP, is Tulsi Gabbard. But Tulsi's been in the military, so I think she's been forced to at least confront that. Because I think in the military you're kind of forced to confront that a little bit, but maybe. We'll see. I worry, though, because she initially supported UBI, which I effing hate. I effing hate UBI. Koya. The media, education system, big corps, and low information voters are the Democrats in the Democrats' pocket. That's a huge battle for us. That is true, but the media doesn't have any much influence now. They are waning in a big way because, you know, despite what I say about my older relatives, they're the last people that read newspapers and watch TV. Mostly people my age and below that I talk to, they don't watch TV. They used to watch TV. They used to watch TV all the time. Now they're like, TV? Oh, I don't watch TV. They might watch old TV, like narrative TV. But for news, oh, they're all internet. All internet all day. So the media's dead. The media's done. Television's done. Education system, that's a big problem, but that's more down the road big problem. But some of it is unintentionally okay. So, for instance, as much as kids got screwed up during the pandemic, they also didn't get indoctrinated during that time. So, it's kind of a weird trade-off. Like, yeah, they're going to be kind of screwed up, but at the same time, they missed years of indoctrination. Sorry, I know you guys are like throwing comments left and right. So I think there's a little wiggle room there, but we do have a lot to deal with in terms of the colleges. But you could see what's happening in the colleges now. They're falling apart. Big corporations, probably the biggest problem. But the ESG stuff is being beaten back. So, and they need customers. And they're quickly realizing that they're destroying the country and they won't have any customers left. And low information voters, yeah. But unfortunately, low information voters they're so prevalent in the United States. I mean, people are just effing woke-tarded, I'll say. Indie Phantom is here. Watch the whole sickening thing. Unprecedented nonsense. Yeah. Ardent, LOL, speaking of women, should Trump now bring in Martha Stewart as his running mate? Oh, I think it's going to be Tulsi Gabbard, and that'll be it. And you could just bang. I'll bet every cent I have on Trump if Las Vegas takes my money. Koya, this is not financial advice, by the way. Koya, speaking of low information voters, Joe Biden 2025, LOL. Yeah, I don't get that comment. And he's already gone, but, you know, he's just trying to set me off, I'll assume. Indie Phantom, already saw Razorfist guesting on a stream. Good day for political content. I guess that's one thing. Yeah, Razor is going live at 10, so don't miss that. That's going to be good. Styx already did. Ardent, for MTG, I see her in a very straightforward, UBI is communism, Trudeau wants it, and aggressive manner. Though she has no finesse. Yeah, I don't know. She said some wacky things, but that's fine. I do like the cut of her jib a lot. We'll see what happens in the years to come. It's going to be interesting to see if she can survive. I mean, Lauren Boebert is on her way out, I think. She's in trouble in the next election. Although I like her too, but she might be an example of a woman who hasn't, I don't know, like, I mean, there are guys who can't keep it in their pants, and then there are women who are like, oh, well, I'm gonna date no matter what. Like, you probably shouldn't be dating so soon after divorcing your husband and screwing around. Like, I get it, but you're not a normal person. When you're in government, you can't afford that if you want your political career to mean something. You can't afford the wacky shenanigans she got involved in. So, you know, she needs to settle the F down. If you need to find a man to F, find one. And keep it quiet and, you know, conservative. I know it's crazy. I mean, it's one thing if a Democrat does it, but, You're playing a crotch grab in a movie theater. Come on, you shouldn't be doing that. You're in government. Ardent, today's kids are becoming more conservative. I think so. Indie Phantom at Ardent. Hopefully that is true for the future. Indie Phantom, low IQ, low information voters. Yes. Alex Ogle, Biden 2025 sounds like that chap who was punished for telling Dems to vote the day after the election. Biden deserves a whole year late. Indie Phantom, still don't really want another female VP for you guys, but that might just be me. Not sure what the best choice would be. Joan, maybe? Joan would be a good VP. She'd be very quiet. And then, what's her name? Kamala would cackle and Joan would just bark. Koya at Ardent, I agree. I am proud parent of 3 conservative thinking kids. Oh, wow. I would like to say it was me, but my wife scares the crap out of them and me. LOL, that's funny. Ardent, Tim Pool tweeted one word, war. Effing a clown. Yeah, I mean, it's war. When he says civil war, it's like, this is like 4th generational warfare. But I get what he's saying, but it's a bit dramatic, but that's his brand. Koya, I'm joking, by the way, LOL. Ardent at Koya. Official, LOL. Mom should be the ruler of the house. Indie Phantom. Robert DeZero is talking to himself in a mirror right now and laughing. Ardent with dad being dictator at need. Yeah, De Niro. Some people, man, they just have TDS that bad. And it really takes a lot to break them of it. De Niro has, I think, too much money and too much time on his hands. He should not be doing this. Whatever career he had left, man, I think he really hurt himself. It's one thing, again, like, he could come out and say, oh, I support Joe Biden, blah, blah, blah. He tried to be very positive. To go negative is to go the wrong way. You can't go negative unless you know what you're doing. Like Howard Stern back in the day, he knew what he was doing. He went negative against a bunch of rivals who were in radio markets that were extremely vulnerable. They had been ripping off comedy bits for years, and Howard cleaned their clocks, and it was glorious to watch. Now, he doesn't have those enemies anymore. He's one of the elites, and he kind of can't work the same shtick anymore, and consequently, unfortunately, he's become one of them, I think. So, and De Niro's clearly one of the elites. Ardent, De Niro's platforms are too high. He's hypoxic. What is hypoxic? Why does he have those giant shoes? I saw that and I was just like, is he got a fear of being too short or something? I guess he's just a short guy. Does he have short man's disease? How can you be that famous and rich and worry? Like, I wouldn't have a care in the world if I had his money. Not a care in the world. Every care I would have would be fixed by money. First off, most of my cares are money related, so they would all evaporate. And then my next care would be like, I don't know, safety. So I'd hire a bodyguard or 2. That would be it. I mean, and then Little Joan, I would get a friend for Little Joan. Yes, I would. A nice little friend. Ardent, not getting enough oxygen. He's way up there now. Indie Phantom, De Niro shouting F you to critics on the street saying Trump spews hatred. Yeah, it's stupid. It's on the level of yelling at your own fans. And some of them are. And look, I know De Niro's fans. Guys who love mafia movies, they're usually pretty based. Yeah, some of them are Democrats, some of them are super corrupt Democrats, but those guys were super based. Like the old school corrupt Democrats, they're based as hell. That's why they're corrupt, because they're stealing the money with both hands. But yeah, that was just crazy. Do you want to get down? You're such a... Oh, God. Oh, it's better. Okay. What else we got here? Watch live. DA Alvin Bragg speaks after Donald Trump's convicted in New York trial. This guy, I tweeted, in 5 years, he's either going to be in jail or he'll be governor of New York. I don't think there's any going back. Either either the Democrats win this election and completely F the United States, turning us into, I don't know, a global, I don't even know what you'd call it, some kind of cash cow for the global elite, for them to live, and they'll push us all out, maybe, or maybe they'll just spend the years doing what they've done to a lot of the companies in the United States, selling us down the river and selling away all our assets and robbing us blind while moving elsewhere. I don't know. But Indy Phantom was bragging hard. Oh, I'm sure he is. He should enjoy it now. Because there's only two ways to go. Either the communists take over and they give him a little gold star until they're done with him. Although they'll eat their own, so he has to worry about that. He ain't going to have a stress-free life, that's for sure. Or what I'm hoping for is Trump gets back in and this guy is in trouble. This guy gets investigated. The entire trial gets investigated. Everybody involved is investigated. And you watch. These people will, some of them will mysteriously disappear or die. I mean, there are no spring chickens in that group. And some of them will they'll just end up in prison. Because once you bring that kind of scrutiny on yourself and you're already corrupt, look at Fani Willis. Like, Fani Willis knew she was banging a coworker, a married coworker, and she thought, oh, well, I'll bring an ex-president of the United States to trial. Nobody will find out my secrets. What are you, an idiot? Oh, sorry, I answered my own question. That kind of scrutiny, everything comes out. Every friggin' website you visited comes out. You don't want that kind of scrutiny. You got skeletons in the closet, and all these corrupt people do. Alvin Bragg's hasn't come out yet. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. He ain't squeaky clean. He can't be. They wouldn't have picked him if he was. So they're gonna turn the screws to him. This time Trump kind of knows where the levers are. Koya, my wife is from the Philippines. We have always talked about the corruption in their government. But earlier she said the U.S. has surpassed us in political corruption. That was hard to hear. Oof. Yeah, that is hard to hear. But it's true. Look, when you're number one, baby, everybody wants a piece of you. It happened to the Romans. The Romans were unstoppable. I mean, you read about the Romans, you have to understand. When the Romans would go into battle, there was nothing like it at that time. Like, if you were going to defend your kingdom, your ramshackle kingdom, and that's all it was. It was a bunch of guys. Some of them had armor. Some of them had some halfway decent swords. And a few of them had some army guys, right? And you mostly used it to push around the peasants. But then the Romans show up one day. And they give you an ultimatum. And they say, you could join us. We're going to take a bunch of slaves. You rich people become Roman citizens. You're going to pay us taxes. And then we're going to expect you to collect the taxes for us and start feeding us money. Because we got problems back in Rome we got to pay for. And the people who said, F you, we want our own kingdom, go F yourself. The centurions would come in and just massacre everybody. They were unstoppable. They all had armor. They were all disciplined. You'd start firing arrows at them. They'd all put up their shields, a big sort of shield thing. You couldn't get through. They had steel like you wouldn't believe. I mean, these guys were 50 years ahead of the curve on any other civilization, and they would just wipe you out. And didn't have a care in the world if they wiped you out. In fact, that was even easier, because after they wiped you out, they took all your stuff. Took your horses, they take your women, anybody who's left is a slave, they take all your gold and your silver. Hey, you're screwed. So when you're number one like that, and the Romans were number one like we are, everybody says, oh, anybody who's corrupt, they're not going to fight the Romans. They're immediately join them, because that's where all the money is. And that's the problem we have. We have too many corrupt people. Everybody wants to come here, and the first thing they want to do is corrupt the system, because it is corrupt. So it's a real problem. It's a real problem. Will it be fixed? It'll never be fixed, but you can push it back on it. Trump could be a guy who could push back on it, and we could have mourning in America for the next 20 years until the next guy F's it all up. But in order to do that, we need Trump. Ardent. De Niro getting a gold star. There is a mid-century German joke in there. Oopsie. Koya. Civis Romanus sum. Indeed. Yeah, the Romans, you couldn't touch them for many, 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 many years. And then why did they fall apart? Well, they stopped innovating. You know, their model was taking over places. They ran out of room. They stretched as far as they could go on foot, basically. There's a great alternate history book in which one of the characters from the future of an alternate Earth comes to ancient Rome and gives the Romans the technology to make rubber. So they put rubber tires on all the chariots and give the soldiers rubber soles, and it allows them to expand the empire and take over the world much more efficiently. Which I thought was an interesting, ideological experiment. All right. Trump guilty. Trump donation website crashes the moment after verdict. This is the other thing. How much money is Trump going to raise now? It's going to be insane. Everybody's donating to Trump. If I had any money, I'd give it to Trump. I mean, I'm just like, getting by. But and Trump, bless his heart, when he asks for donations, the first thing he says, if you're hurting, I get it, but if you have the money to donate, please donate. Like, Biden doesn't say that stuff. Biden doesn't say that at all. Biden's like, oh, I need money. He didn't even need it. That's the best part of Biden. He didn't need it. Biden doesn't need the money. What he needs is more people to donate so he can count the numbers up, right? So he's got major billion-dollar corporations pouring money into his campaign because they want him to win because he's a doddering old fart they can push around. But it looks bad when you have $100 billion war chest, and how many donors you got? Oh, 7. That looks really bad. But if you have a $100 billion war chest and you have 1 million donors, well, then it looks a little better. Then you could at least say, well, some people donated to me. Yeah, I got a lot of corporations, but some people donated too. He's got nobody to vote. I mean, who's going to do the boomers, I guess. Koya, the Roman Empire fell to the Byzantine Empire, and for 20 years, many still called themselves Roman. It begs the question, are we in the same situation? Maybe. I mean, we're just at this inflection point in history. And the question is, who's really pulling the levers and pushing the strings? Pushing the strings? That doesn't make any sense. I've said for years that the CCP is in the background of this, trying to push all the buttons to make sure we fall apart. And I'd like to think that even the people on the other side don't want that to happen. And that they're very corrupt, but they still don't want the Chinese to be in charge. But when I look at a guy like Gavin Newsom, I just gasp at his behavior sometimes and think, dear God, he is a communist. Like, you see Gavin Newsom on that trip to China? It's insane. And then Z coming to America? It's insane. It's insane, their exchange. But fortunately, Gavin Newsom is about as popular as Kamala Harris on her worst day. Koya, are we becoming a nation of forgotten symbols? Well, the upshot is I'm seeing a lot of people, like myself, rediscovering America. So, for instance, I went to a great event. I don't have the shirt on, but I bought this awesome shirt with the colony flag, 13 stars and 13 stripes. And this guy has the best shirts. I'm telling you, he has the most awesome shirts. I'm going to give him another free plug because I love him. I got his card here. The Sons of Liberty. His name's Philip Mark. sonsofliberty.com. The website is Philip, 1L, Mark, with a C, Sonso of Liberty, or Sons of Liberty, sonsofliberty.com. That's a whole thing. So you go there, and I'm telling you, he's got the most awesome shirts. He's got the Join or Die shirts. He's got flags. He's got the heaven flag with the pine tree on it. He's got it all. He just announced that. I got an email from him. I agree, but I think it's more than the CCP. Yes, some of those people, and this is the problem when you're in a declining empire. What happens is number 2 and number 3 countries start bribing everybody, and we've got people in this country. I think like Alvin Bragg, Kathy Hochul, a lot of people. They'll take the bribe, man. They'll take the bribe all day long. And then once they take that bribe, they're completely beholden to these foreign entities, and they're absolutely effed if they don't go along. That's how you compromise somebody. You get them to take a bribe. You get them on something small, and then you get them to do some favors for you, and you think you're doing a favor for some random donor, and then at some point you reveal, like, oh, no, you haven't been doing favors for a random donor. We're actually the CCP, and now you work for us. Because if you don't work for us, we're going to expose you as an agent of the CCP, and what are they going to do to you then? Well, they're going to throw you in prison, maybe shoot you for treason. If you have to do that. I mean, you want to keep working with the cutout as long as possible. But, and then you might as well just be in for a penny, in for a pound. And if you're an amoral asshat, like the kind we elect to Congress and governorships, then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Koya, time to eat. Happy wife, happy life. I enjoyed the conversation. Keep safe, and may God continue to bless this nation. Good on you, Koya. I hope you have a nice meal. And don't get black-pilled, my friend. It's always darkest before the dawn. Republicans react to historic Trump trial verdict. Dark day for America. What did I just say, Republicans? What did I just say, damn it? I'm sure the Republicans are working on their strongly worded letter. The MAGA Republicans are ready to, like, hopefully do something, but there's not enough of them. We need more MAGA guys. We need people to run for office. People say, oh, you should run for office. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. Because I've done comedy for a lot of years, so I did a lot of weird stuff that's on videotape. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. I've got a lot of embarrassing footage. You know, I get that scrutiny. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was me. So a lot of embarrassing sketches. Some of them are funny. Some of them are just embarrassing. I'm embarrassed by my performance more than anything. From Washington Examiner, Trump guilty. Trump team declares Larry Hogan politically dead for verdict response. Okay. Yeah, you know who's dead to me is Jack Citarelli of New Jersey. Pretty much done with him. He put out a very lukewarm response. Well, no matter what you think about Trump, no matter what I think about Trump, you're a Republican and you're telling me, well, no matter what you think about Trump, which party do you work for, Jack? You're a Republican. How about a little bit of a stronger worded? There's no time for lukewarm takes right now. The time for lukewarm takes, that has passed. It is time to say, this was a witch hunt. These New York legislatures should be in prison for what they've done. They should be disbarred at minimum. And what the F are you doing about it, Jack Citarelli? Not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot he can do in his defense, but the least thing he could do is put out a decent tweet. Donald Trump family reacts to guilty verdict. I don't think they're happy about it, I'm guessing. Congressional Republicans stick by Trump after conviction. Good. I mean, at least they did that. But it should be a hell of a lot. The tone should be a hell of a lot more. F these people. Crime and punishment in Joe Biden's America. We can see a little bit of it. If you're a Republican, they're coming after you. They're coming after you. Just keep in mind, you don't have to tell people how you're voting. And I know you say, like, some people say to me, like, oh, you're a conservative, you're a Republican. I'm not, really. I'm not. I'm on this Trump train because I can see the effing up that's going on. Now, I used to be a Democrat many moons ago. I'm not a Democrat either. I'm now embarrassingly a libertarian still, but I call myself now a small L libertarian, as in I don't really consider myself in the party that just nominated Chase Oliver, but I certainly enjoy the MAGA Republicans and their populism, so don't get me started on the libertarians, please. Alex Ogle, there needs to be a Republican as eloquent as Jacob Rees-Mogg when he condemned the EU judges by quoting the book of Amos. Well, that could help. The problem with being eloquent in the United States is if you go too high, people don't understand. They literally are so deeply ignorant. So one of my older relatives said to me tonight, they were screaming about Judge Alito, right? The latest thing they've been injected into their brains, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, he flew the flag upside down. He said it was his wife, and it was an argument with his neighbor, but we know it was an insurrection symbol. And I'm like, no. Koya, I am an American. Forget the R, forget the D, or any other letter. Yeah, pretty much. So, I'm saying to my older relatives, you don't understand what flag display is. Like, I got the civics badge in Boy Scouts, so I knew everything about the American flag. That was one of my shticks. I used to give an entire speech about the American flag and how to properly display it, how to put it away, what to do. If you drop it on the ground, you're supposed to burn it in a ceremony. You're not supposed to wash it. You're supposed to burn it. You're not supposed to ever let it touch the ground, by the way. But that's like old school. Nobody does that anymore. But so flying a American flag upside down is it means distress. That's what it means. So the fact that people at January 6th were doing it and then somebody else does it doesn't mean that they're immediately making that correlation to the events on Capitol Hill. It just means they're doing what people have done for literally hundreds of years. So, people ate honey back in colonial days. If I'm eating honey, am I some sort of monster because some serial killer ate honey? No. So it's stupid logic. It's MSNBC logic, I would call it. Or Miss NBC is what I would call that thing. I actually spelled that wrong tonight on a tweet and spelled it Miss NBC, and I thought, oh yeah. And then they, of course, talked about the pine tree above in heaven, I think it says, or something like that. And it's like, it's an obscure flag that George Washington flew. Yeah, but the J6ers flew it too. So what? They were wearing shoes. I heard bad guys from Germany wore shoes. Is that something I should be worried about? I mean, people do things. One doesn't mean anything else. Just because people in January 6th, I'm sure January 6ers drank soda. So what? They walked upright. Oh, dear God, I have to crawl for the rest of my life. So as not to be associated with those people. Alex Ogle, quote, for I know your manifold... Oh, sorry. Quote, for I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. They afflict the just. They take a bribe, and they turn aside the poor in the gate from their right. Amos 5:12. Ardent. The upside-down flag is a nautical sign for distress. Yeah. Yeah, it also means, like, other distress, like, politically, but, like, so what? I had a friend, she's the biggest hippie in San Francisco, and she still is. And she used to fly an upside-down flag all the time, like literally all the time, because she was mad about politics. This was back in the 80s. Alex Ogle, most people don't know that it is possible to fly the UK flag upside down. It is? I thought it's the same upside down. We don't get angry at it. We are amused that people get it wrong. Ardent, MSNPCCP? Ooh, good one. Ardent, an appeal to heaven. That's it. Ardent at Alex. Yeah, it's almost an asymmetrical flag. Alex, it annoyed me that the Canadian media banged on about desecrating the flag during the trucker protest. One, they don't care. Two, English law, which underpins Canada, has no concept of flag desecration. Yeah, they'll say, I mean, they're Marxist. They'll literally say anything. I mean, in Canada, they're really Marxist. I mean, I don't know who's worse, the communist in the UK or the communist in Canada. I mean, I guess I'm closer to Canada, so I kind of hear the Canadians more. But man, some of the UK ones really worry me. Although I kind of see in the UK, there's a ton of communists, but there's also tons of illegal aliens that with their own wacky views on religious governments. So like it's almost undermining your communism. Whereas like in Canada, it's just straight up because Trudeau is dyed-in-the-wool commie. I mean, that seems to be very clear to me. Justin Trudeau is a communist. He is a hardcore believer in communism. I think if he could flip a switch and turn Canada into the CCP, he absolutely would. I don't know what you'd call it. Not the China. It would be the Canadian Communist Party, CCP. Yeah, it would be the same thing. Ardent, the communists in Canada are the ones in power. Yeah, they're sort of in power in here. I mean, they're Democrats. The only thing that's stopping the communists in the United States is the corrupt Democrats, because they ain't gonna give up power. And they're sort of on the fence about stomping out the communists. They're thinking about it though, because everything that blew up at the universities with Hamas and Gaza was like a bridge too far from them. Now they're in trouble. They know they're in big trouble, especially with the Jewish bloc of voters here, which was huge for the Democrats up in the East Coast. I mean, you got to understand. I mean, you lose the Jewish vote in a place like New York or Long Island, good luck to you. Good luck to you. So there's a lot of angry people who are looking to oust every Democrat they see, and I don't blame them. I mean, after what they did during the pandemic to the Hasidim, which I found the most disgraceful display. I just felt sick to my stomach seeing these poor religious people who are just trying to do what, I mean, they believe their immortal soul's in danger, and these people can't congregate to have a funeral when somebody dies. Holy F, man. I just couldn't believe it. And the stuff Bill de Blasio says, there's another commie for you, Bill de Blasio. Arden, LOL, Trudeau is genetically commie. Yeah, Indie Phantom, Trudeau really took us down quickly, exponentially. Indie Phantom, do you think there will be any riots regarding this? Not likely because NYC is so blue. No, I don't think there'll be any riots, because you have to understand, when people on the right now have a riot, it's one of two things. Either it's completely astroturfed by people in power, which may very well happen somewhere. Might happen in New York City, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's no need for it, right? So if you were the guys in power, right, you're the feds and you're trying like hell to help Biden, is there a reason to do a riot now? No, there's no reason. There's no reason. Trump's been convicted. You want to see if that's going to work. Now, maybe during his sentencing, you might arrange something like, okay, this isn't working. The polls haven't gone down for Trump. Biden's clearly going to lose this election. We have to stage some sort of black swan event. So let's get the Patriot Front guys out there and have them start a fight or whatever. Maybe. But keep in mind, too, even the guys they hired don't want to go to prison. You know, you want to collect the government's money, whatever they're paying these people, to pretend to be racist or, MAGA guys. But, like, you want to be like Ray Epps, except you want to be invisible. You want to be like the guy who was basically like Ray Epps who didn't get caught. The guy at the J6 events screaming, go, 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 and then just quietly walk home. And then collect your money. Yeah, I urge these guys. Pretty good operation, huh, fellas? Yeah, give me my money. Alex, no. It annoys me when I hear people say Trudeau is a communist. He's not. He doesn't care about the working class. He's a fascist through and through. Well, that's what most communists are. Communists don't care about the working class. They hate the working class. I'm talking about the communists we have now. The communists of old pretended, even they didn't care about the working class, really. They used that as a prop. But I think, they've always been fascist, even if they haven't admitted that. They just want power. I think it's what James Lindsay says. You keep calling everything, you keep complaining about everything. You call it racist, you call it transphobic, you call it whatever you have to until you control it. And then once you control it, it's fine. Then it's perfect. Then it's the complete opposite. Oh, the healthcare system, it's racist and transphobic and homophobic. Oh, okay, well, you fix it. All right, now I'm in control of it. Okay, great, it's great. And that's it. Even as people are dying, they'll call it great. That's what this Biden administration is, right? They complain, they got into power, and look what they've done. They've done everything wrong. They're completely incompetent. And what is their solution? Their solution is to say, oh, we're not incompetent. Everything's awesome. Everything is great. The economy is roaring forward. Unless you go shopping and you eat. Alex Ogle, YouTuber Tick, the Imperator Knight, has some excellent videos on the broken spectrum of the left and right. He has excellent videos in general, I think, too. I love his videos about the big war and the bad guys from Germany. So, can Trump still vote after being convicted? Says CBS News. Yeah, that's a real problem. His vote, yeah. Washington Examiner, Trump's real crime was leading Joe Biden in the polls. Absolutely. I did my job. New York City Soros-funded DA Alvin Bragg gloats after Trump guilty verdicts, laughs it up with Matthew Colangelo, thanks leftist jurors. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what those leftist jurors say when they come out, because they're going all over the TV. Oh, I'm sure these jurors are going to be like, oh, I was happy to convict Trump. And they'll say insane things. And if I were them, I'd keep very, very quiet myself. But it's very tempting. I'm sure there'll be a book deal in it for some of them. But I think Alvin Bragg is the one who's... he doesn't have enough political juice to protect himself. He thinks he does. And he probably does now. But get a red governor in there, he's done. He'll be lucky if he won't. He'll be lucky if he's not disbarred. I think they'll disbar him at minimum when they go after him and investigate this case. But that's a long way away. That's like probably 10 years away. Because first Trump has to get in and do some stuff, and then all hell's going to break loose, and so it's going to be many years down the road, probably after Trump leaves office, maybe. So, pandering versus patriotism. Why it's Trump who is the true unifier. He really is. When you see him in that Bronx rally, oh man, people loved him. People absolutely loved him at that Bronx rally. I missed the Wildwood reality. What the hell was I doing? I was doing a show. I'm always doing a show. Indie Phantom. These names are a screenwriter's dream. Fanny, Stormy, Bragg, Pecker, Wiener. Yeah. Kind of nuts. I wrote my Wokistan novel and then Hollywoke another novel. And I have a third book in mind. But I'm telling you, man, every time I look at the news, I think about writing it. I start thinking about the characters and the events in the novel, and then the news comes on, and then something changes. Like, this is so big, I can't write that novel yet. I probably won't be able to write it until Trump gets back in office. Then maybe. But I would really like to write it. But man, I can't keep up with the news. Like, predicting stuff at first seemed relatively easy. Now it's so freaking hard. Like, it seems like we're constantly on the verge of just imploding or winning this whole thing. And I really believe, Trump is going to win, and then we'll take both houses, and then the battle really begins. So that's when everybody lets their guard down, unfortunately. Like you win, and then everybody goes, oh, we won. Fantastic. Oh, I can go home and go back to what I was doing. Not really. Not really. Then we got to keep the pressure up because then we have a lot of rhinos to deal with. Trump guilty. DeSantis and former 2024 GOP rivals denounce felony conviction. Good for you. Good for you, DeSantis. Again, there was some bad blood. Now it seems to be over. Can Trump still be elected president after being convicted in hush money case? He absolutely can, unless that the woke-tards in Congress attempt to pass a law that says they can't. But I don't think that'll pass. I think you could kiss any Republican goodbye, like immediately, politically, if he were to ever vote for something like that. He would literally have to vote for that and say, okay, that's my last vote. I'll resign immediately. But there have been guys who have done that in Congress. I wouldn't be surprised. But no, I don't think so. Part of this is ego, too. Like, the ego on the other side is, no, we could beat Trump. We got it. We're going to cheat, but we're going to win. Shock news. Marriage is good for your health. Oh, who knew? Wasn't good for my wallet, I'll tell you that. Sorry, that one wasn't a Trump headline. I'm trying to do Trump headlines. Biden applies regime change skills learned in Kiev to U.S. states. Oliver Stone's documentary Ukraine is on Fire is well worth watching. You really think he's applying that to states, huh? I don't think he learned that. I think the guys running the show behind the scenes, maybe. Red state. So what now? Well, there's going to be an appeal, and there's going to be more legal maneuvering. And then the moment Trump gets in front of a real judge, the judge is just going to throw out every friggin' charge. I mean, it's just to wear him down. I couldn't take this kind of pressure. I really couldn't. I'd be done. It's just too much for me. But God bless it. Trump thrives under it. It's amazing to watch. Trump says a guilty verdict is a scar on New York justice system, vows to keep fighting. Keep fighting, Trump. Keep fighting. Ardent at Indie Phantom. LOL. My woman's online nickname is Stormy, the stalker, until I gave in and let her have me. Okay. Didn't know that second part. Trump VP contenders torch guaranteed guilty verdict. Complete travesty. Okay. I think it's actually a good strategy for Trump not to pick his VP yet, because he's got so many people in his crew now, right? They all want to be VP. They all got to back him up. But I wonder who it's got to be. I really do. It could be Vivek. I think I like Tulsi. I mean, really, a lot of them are good. Trump always has lots of talent. Indie Phantom, LOL at Ardent. Democrats media hype Trump as convicted felon. Of course they do. From Red State, what's next for Trump? The facts and ways this could play out. All right, we'll take a look at that one. Let's see. We shall see. Only if there's bullet points, though. I'm not doing this if it's not bullet points. Okay. First off, can he run for president? Yes. Can he pardon himself? No, because it's a state conviction. He will not be able to pardon himself as president. Presidents only have jurisdiction over federal convictions. Can any state take him off the ballot? He did try, but no. How can he serve as president if he's also serving a criminal sentence? It is expected that due to his age and this being his first conviction, he will not serve prison time. He may be given probation, which would mean he could have to ask permission every time he leaves the state of New York. If sentenced to time in prison, which would undoubtedly be frowned upon as a politically motivated move, he could still actually legally serve as president from behind bars. Wouldn't that be hilarious? What about the appeal? Trump's team will assuredly appeal. They will have 30 days from the New York verdict to file a notice of Trump's appeal and 6 months to file the full appeal. It is expected that any appeals filed will not be resolved before the November election. I think that's the point. So yeah. Indie Phantom, yeah, he should hold off on that as long as possible and go with the most liked overall. Where was I? Okay. Shares in Trump Media, owner of Truth Social, drop following an announcement of verdict. Oh, really? That's interesting. I find that very interesting because I have a handful of shares, and it's been way up. So I'm going to have to check that. LC Stefanik slams Trump guilty verdict, calls for an appeal, says corrupt case was illegally bought or brought. Okay. Trump campaign and RNC donation websites crash, and the RNC one. That's a good sign too, because you got to win the House and the Senate too. I want it all. I want it all. I want Trump in power. I want the Senate. I want the House. I want him to just start cranking out all kinds of laws. I want Trump, man. I want him to build that freaking wall. I want him to kick out all the illegal aliens. Indie Phantom. Imagine all the inside favors Trump could call on from behind bars. Everyone at Rikers would be getting gold stickers. Ardent, that feels like a lie to damage Trump's brand. Probably is. Donald Trump's family reacts to sweeping guilty verdict in hush money trial. I'm sure they're not pleased. All right, checking Real Clear Politics. New York City jury finds Donald Trump guilty from Reuters. Thanks, Reuters, for checking in. Clown show there. This was done by the Biden administration to hurt his opponent, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is writing that article. Let's see what he has to say. Will a conviction even help Biden? No, I don't think so. De Niro shows up and shows us how to fight Trump, says Salon. That's a hilarious headline. Oh, there he is. The real verdict is going to be in November. Okay, I can't play this. I'm on YouTube. Oh, I can read it. Here's a transcript. Okay. I can't do Trump. I wish I could do Trump. I've tried so many times. This is Trump. This was a trial by I can't do it. This was a trial by conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't even give us a venue change. We are at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened here, and everyone knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do anything wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I am fighting for our country. I am fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound and hurt an opponent, a political opponent, and I think that's just a disgrace. We will keep fighting. We will fight to the end. We will win because our country has gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We are a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into the country right now from prisons and mental institutions, terrorists, and they are taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. This was a rigged decision right from day one with a conflicted judge who should never have been allowed to try this case. Never. We will fight for our Constitution. This is a long from over. Thank you very much. So, you got to be upbeat like Trump. Got to be upbeat by. He sounds very upbeat. Sounds very positive. Go Trump. Here's the Federalist. Kangaroo Court convicts Trump following Soviet show trial in New York City. Yeah, it pretty much sums it up. Let's see. Rigged. Biden donor judge whose daughter raised millions to defeat Trump oversaw Soviet show trial conviction. Yeah, should investigate them too. Judge Merchant's jury instructions prove Trump's trial is about power, not law. I mean, like, imagine this thing went to SCOTUS. It'd be thrown out in a hot minute. I don't even think it's going to go that far. I think the next judge is throwing it out, or most of it anyway. But again, he'll be elected president. This will still be going on. And the judge will probably just throw it out. So, oh, he's president of the United States. I don't want to distract him. Got a lot of problems. Here's Zero Hedge. Trump responds after the verdict. We just read that. Over to New York Post. New York Post kind of confounds me. It's supposed to be right wing, but it's kind of not. But whatever. Donald Trump is now the first ex-U.S. president to be convicted on criminal charges. Trump blasts out fundraising appeal after hush money verdict says he's a political prisoner. He is. He is. Trial was rigged. Trial was rigged. He should have fought extradition to New York. That would have been funny. That would have been funny. Imagine he was still in Florida fighting in the court system there. Editorial, Trump falls victim to a prostituted court of law, of public opinion to vote out Biden in November. DA brag on Trump conviction. This type of white-collar prosecution is core to what we do. Bull. That is the biggest load of bull I've ever heard. You don't give an F about anybody other than Trump. AOC gloats about Trump guilty verdict at Bronx Town Hall. Who cares? She is such a clown. People in the Bronx ought to be embarrassed you voted her in. Let's see. Biden campaign hails Trump hush money conviction. No one is above the law. Yeah, you are. You are, Biden, apparently. Yeah, unbelievably corrupt mummy. New York reacts after Donald Trump is found guilty in a historic conviction. Shares of Truth Social tumble. Oh man, I gotta check that. That'll come back though. I wish I had sold right before the verdict. That would have been awesome. And then I could have bought more shares, but oh well. All right, do we have any more? I think that's it for Trump. Republicans rip Dem senator over families tied to attorney involved in Pennsylvania election law change. All right. Moving on to PJ Media. Breaking. Manhattan jury finds former president guilty in bookkeeping case. That's a good way to word it. Indy Phantom. Hunter Biden trial starts Monday. That will be interesting for comparison. Oh, yeah. They'll probably bring him in on a litter, hand him a drink. Can we get you a pillow, Mr. Biden? Are you okay? Are you comfortable? Well, this is just a proceeding. We'll get you out of here by lunch. The country will never be the same after the shameful Trump verdict. Yeah, because this is like when this happens, when something like this happens to a guy like Trump, it can now happen to anybody, right? So imagine the next guy. The next guy, he won't be as big as Trump. He won't be as famous. Maybe he's a real estate mogul. Maybe he's got millions, not billions, but millions. He's a guy who does some work in New York, let's say, because it'll probably be New York again. And they go after him because he's a Republican, maybe he's outspoken, maybe he's a political rival of somebody in the governorship or a mayor or whatever. And they go after him, and he'll have to go to court and all this stuff. And then after that, now he'll probably win too, but again, it'll derail his political ambitions, let's say. But then the next guy probably be a total unknown. Maybe he's a just barely a millionaire. And then they go at him and he has to spend all his money, and even then he probably doesn't walk away unscathed, and he basically loses all his money, maybe he loses his business. They've done that to people before. But now it's going to be like, oh, we got to target Republicans. And then after that, what happens? Well, it gets further and further down until finally they're just prosecuting anybody they don't like. Hey, you, I saw that Trump sign on your lawn. You know that's against local ordinance 246. Why don't you get in the car? Well, you didn't get in the car fast enough. You're resisting arrest. And then you don't have the money to fight this thing. Indy Phantom. This has already happened to many of Trump's allies. Yeah. But it's gonna trickle down to normal people. But the normal people who voted for Biden don't see that coming. They'll just be like, this isn't fair at all. because it'll trickle down to the. They ain't gonna make a distinction with Democrats. Once this kind of Pandora's box opens up, they just go after anybody who, looks at you sideways. So be careful out there. So that's why I'm always very polite to police officers and other people. Politeness gets you pretty far. Unless it's a criminal, politeness will get you pretty far. And then knowing your rights, God forbid you get arrested, shut the F up and wait for your lawyer. Shut the F up. Daily Caller, left-wing DA, Biden DOJ alum secure Trump conviction at Biner Donors Blue District courtroom. Another good way to put it. Trump campaign gets immediate avalanche of cash. Turley says he is saddened by guilty verdict, suggests case drove major wedge in American legal system. It did. And I know somebody just joining that American legal system, and I'm very anxious to ask him his thoughts on this subject. Unforced Biden era could be a huge win for MAGA agenda. I assume you're talking about the trial. You just killed our country. Trump supporters react to guilty verdict outside courthouse. Trump attorney hints at the possibility of suing Alvin Bragg for malicious prosecution. Ooh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, imagine okay, so they don't go after Alvin Bragg criminally, but they go after him financially. That would be amazing, right? So imagine Trump, he won against Stormy Daniels. He's still trying to get the damn money, I think, from her. So now he goes after, let's say Alvin Bragg, goes after him for millions. Alvin Bragg doesn't have millions. He might have a few million. I don't think he has millions, like he's a millionaire. So that would be very interesting. All right, moving on. Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro, if anybody's interested, is going to break down the Trump guilty verdict. Trump guilty verdict generates widespread backlash online. Biden campaign celebrates Trump guilty verdict. Yep. Yeah, it's all over Twitter, that's for sure. Over at the Daily Mail, I'm a political prisoner. Now that's Trump's deal. You turned him into a victim. You turned a billionaire into a victim. Trump's 34 felonies bar him from certain rights. These are the liberties a former president could lose. He's not going to lose anything. Trump shook his head in disgust, and the room was stunned in the silence. Dramatic account from inside the court. Fox News host Shannon Bream is slammed by viewers as anti-MAGA in wake of Trump guilty verdict after heated clash with glamorous lawyer Alina Habba. She is pretty cute, Alina Habba. Caitlyn Jenner leads fury, and Candace Owens labels U.S. a banana republic as Trump found guilty in hush money trial. Yeah, baby. That voice I could do. Egypt's greatest pharaoh, found over 3,000 years later after his death, long-lost sarcophagus is discovered under the floor of a monastery. Neat. Sorry, I love archaeology. All right, that's it for Trump on Daily Mail. Over at the Post-Millennial, more on Trump being a political prisoner. Let's see if we got any updates. I'm going to refresh. They're usually pretty good. No updates as of yet. Not much to update at this point. Oh, wait, there it is. Venture capital firm partner donates $300,000 to Trump campaign after vowing to never support Joe Biden. You're going to see more and more of this, especially in the next 24 hours. Oh, you're going to see so much of it. New Trump ad slams Democrats over lawfare. Indie Phantom. Yes, Shannon Breed is still hot, but she was annoying as F through all the coverage and was far too smiley following the verdict. Yeah, you better get on the right side of history, Fox. I would say, or you're gonna have no ratings. You're already on shaky ground already. Indie Phantom think Elon Musk will seriously get behind MAGA now? Oh yeah, I think he already is, but he's also in a lot of he's got to deal with a lot of federal stuff because they're coming down on him already. I think he's already MAGA, but being the smartest man in the world, he's smart enough to say, I'm not going to just scream MAGA at the top of my lungs. That's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help him, certainly. And it doesn't really help the cause. He can parse that out as much as he wants on X, and I think people can draw their own conclusions. He doesn't need to be the direct supporter of Trump. He can be more of a quiet guy about it. You know, he could donate money or help Trump have events on X. You know, if he ever wants to come back to Twitter, I think he should. I think he's already pretty seriously behind MAGA. He's definitely behind a lot of the policies of MAGA. You know, he's definitely against transitioning children, I think. He's definitely very worried about the immigration system. And these are all issues for MAGA and Trump, especially. Biden is terrible on these issues, so. Biden campaign issues statement after Trump guilty verdict saying no one is above the law. Yeah, except you and your cronies and anybody that you say to the FBI, oh, don't bother him. Trump's sentencing is for July 11th, right before the RNC. Of course. Like, the idea is they want to sentence him so he can't go to the RNC and, like, accept the nomination. They might try to do that, but good luck, RNC, if you allow it to happen. Nominate anybody else and you're done. You're absolute toast. All right. Bunch of other stuff happened. We talked about this earlier. Breitbart. Election interference trial. Trump found guilty on all 34 counts. Dems get their goal. Convicted felon branding. Trump real verdict comes in November 5th. Blames Biden. Sentencing July 11th. Details. DA brag. Democrats media hype. New talking point. Trump convicted felon. Sentencing just 4 days before the convention. MAGA fired up. Ooh, look at this one. I'm going to click on that because it has a flashing headline. MAGA firebrands, Veep stakes, contenders torch guilty verdict in Trump case. You know who I like for VP is J.D. Vance. I kind of like him. GOP's online donation platform overwhelmed. J.D. Vance, election interference. Don Jr., election interference. DJT, the people will decide. Trump blames Biden for rigged election decision. Biden appears to greenlight Ukraine strikes inside Russia with U.S. weapons. Yeah, if he can't beat Trump in an election, might as well have World War III and kill everybody, Biden. You absolute ass clown. Let's see. Yeah, new talking point, convicted felon. That'll be what my older relatives manage to say every Dem talking point to me every time they argue politics. And I always tell them, I'm like, you understand that was a Dem talking point, and you just keep repeating the talking points. You don't have any convictions of your own. It's just what you see on TV, and then you repeat it like it's yours. And they get very upset when I say that to them. I said, well, give me an original thought. Give me an original thought. In your head. Do some research. And then I won't accuse you of that. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something you didn't learn from MSNBC or reading a newspaper, which basically was just a bunch of stuff on the internet anyway. At least do your own research and then get back to me. They'll never do it. They just don't. They're too old for it. They'll never do it. They can barely use the internet. And at the Babylon Bee, we'll end on a laugh as always. Donald Trump found guilty of being Donald Trump. That's pretty much sums it up. Indy Phantom, the first debate will be nuts, and it's before sentencing. Yeah. So now imagine Biden gets up there, and the first thing he says is something like, "Hey, I'm not a convicted felon." Like, that's a big win for him. Like, Trump is going to eat him alive. I don't think Biden's going to make it to the debate. Either, I mean, but it's coming up soon, so I guess he might. I mean, either he's going to die of natural causes. I'm not saying anything terrible or something we don't know. Or he gets up into that debate stage and they just cut off his meds that day and let him flounder. Let him absolutely flounder, which is dangerous on two fronts. So imagine they just say, don't give him his meds today. Let him flounder. We're going to replace him, but we need him to fail. Okay. But he could fail so big that people actually kind of feel sorry for him. That people feel so sorry for him. Maybe his numbers go up just a little bit. Not a lot. Not like he wins the debate, but like his numbers go up just a tiny bit because people kind of feel sad that the old man is even up there and Trump is just dancing circles around him. That could happen. The other thing is, it could be so bad for the brand. So imagine he gets up there, they don't give him his meds, or they don't give him the right dose, or they give him like a much lesser dose, and he's completely incoherent. Like, he's babbling nonstop, and he blows it like we've never seen. Like, something so bad that we've never seen. That Trump has to correct him on basic facts. That even the moderator has to stop Biden from talking because he's completely incoherent. He doesn't understand him. Like, it could be that bad. What does that do to the Democratic brand? Right? The brand. Forget about Biden. Biden's toast. But now, like, they put this guy up who's so incomprehensible. He has to go. Like, he comes out of that debate not like, well, maybe we should think about replacing Biden. No. You have to replace Biden. He was incomprehensible during the debate. Trump absolutely myrtleized him. What are they going to do then? Okay, they replace him. I don't know with who. I assume Kamala Harris, who then has to pick a VP and then has to debate Trump. Let's say they get what they want, which is really Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom ain't going to be better. Gavin Newsom will be coherent. Gavin Newsom won't be, you won't like be so mad that you'll feel sorry for him, but you don't think Trump can't turn on a dime and debate Gavin Newsom? He'll trash him too. He'll absolutely trash him. The only thing Gavin has going for him is he's younger. He could yell over Trump, I guess. But how's that going to look? And then suddenly he comes in the last 6 months of the campaign to save the day. That's not going to work either. If they have to replace Biden, Doug Ballard is here. Hi, Doug. Welcome to the stream. Obviously, you haven't heard Biden speak lately. Unbelievable that after 4 years you can't pronounce the vice president's name. Who, Kamala? Or are you one of these Kamala people? I don't care. Who cares? Anyhow, see Biden speak lately? Why? Did he get some sort of gift from God and now he's Joe Biden from 1987? Even when he could speak, he plagiarized speeches. Have you seen the clip from Johnny Carson back in the 80s? Back when I supported Biden, because I didn't really know much about him at the time. He got caught plagiarizing speeches, like multiple speeches. So many speeches that he had to quit. Oh, that was embarrassing. That the Dems even put him back up is embarrassing. Yeah, so he's done. I mean, and if they don't replace him, so imagine he goes up and really screws the pooch, and then they don't replace him because they're just like, well, we can't replace him now because nobody wants to take his spot and lose this thing. That'll be a disaster too. So I don't know. I think they're angling to replace him, with who? Maybe a complete unknown. That would probably increase their chances. You know. So imagine a guy you never heard of. He's from some rando state, maybe like one like Iowa, and he's actually coherent, and he's not too bad. He might not have the name recognition, but he'd probably do better than Biden, right? People will be like, well, that guy's not too bad. It might actually win a few people back over on, who are left leaning but in the middle, like those kinds of people. I don't think you're going to get many people back with this economy, even if he had a good pitch how to fix it. But thanks for tuning in here, Doug Ballard. I got to wrap this thing up because it's already 9:30. I just wanted to do a short one to react to the verdict. To summarize, verdict bad. New York City bad. People who run the legislature very bad, and probably have destroyed their careers. They've either destroyed their careers or they've cemented their place in the communist hierarchy when they build the Politburo in New York. I don't know. So it's going to be an interesting. How many more months do we have left? We're almost done May, so we got June, July, August, September, October, November. 6 months, baby. Less than 6 months, really, because to the election. So we got like 6 months, and then like a month and a half of like, oh God, Trump won, but like Biden's burning the White House down before he leaves. Indie Phantom, another great stream. Verdict insane, yet not unpredictable. Yeah. I don't know. I always sort of lean towards Sticks and Hammer because he follows a lot of this. He follows a lot of legal stuff that I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, I think they're very serious this time. Oh, here's another headline from Babylon B. I missed. 12 jurors unanimously vote to ensure Trump re-election. Yeah, they sure did. Ardent, read Biden speaking lately. There's a post on YouTube Shorts of Biden saying they can't win the election, Trump must be elected, etc. Effing hilarious. I think I saw that one too. Yeah, it's a big montage. There's so many montages. Somebody put together a 2-hour montage. 2 hours of Biden gaffes. And most of them are from his presidency. That's the amazing thing about it. Ardent, speaking of legal stuff, have you seen the absolute state of Nick Rekieta lately? Or do we want to get into that? Indie Phantom, LOL Ardent, yeah, another epic gaffe. Rick Rekieta. Okay, Nick Rekieta. Let me give you my 2 cents on Nick Rekieta as long as you brought it up. All right. I'm going to try not to get into past 10 o'clock because I really want to see Razor Fist stream live. Ardent, 2 hours? Oh, I need to see this thing. Yeah, it's pretty epic. So, Nick Rekieta. My contention is this. Sober Nick Rekieta would call current Nick Rekieta a scumbag, is my take. Because what he's done, and this is just my understanding, my opinion, is apparently he's become a drug addict with his wife. He apparently stole another man's wife on top of having his wife, who I think may also be addicted to drugs. And the 3 of them were living in the house together with his 5 children, having coke-fueled orgies, I'm imagining. Because there's that. And he still kept streaming. I mean, I think this is the result of a rock star lifestyle applied to YouTubers. And unfortunately, Nick couldn't handle it. What he needed to do was stop drinking, stop taking drugs, and take care of his kids. Or, he just really needed to stop drinking, and he probably wouldn't have gone down this rabbit hole. Now he's made it even worse for himself. He keeps streaming, he keeps doing stuff on the stream that I think some of it's illegal, and it's very bad. It's very bad, and it's very sad for his children. I think Nick needs to get sober really fast. I don't think it doesn't sound like he's anywhere near rock bottom. Doesn't even sound like he's sorry yet. Until he is like on a stream begging people for forgiveness and promising to get clean And I think he's a long way from that. In the meantime, Ethan Van Sciver weighed in, and I think he's attempting to not drama farm per se, but like again, my prediction with EVS is he was going down a dark path as well, but a different kind of dark path where he was drama farming everything. But to me, EVS is not as practiced as say Howard Stern was in his prime. Ardent, he's been seen with nasal crystal residue and apparently recorded a finish on stream. Real shame. Yeah, it is a shame. It's sad. It's sad when anybody becomes addicted to drugs. But he needs tough love. And he needs to be his YouTuber buddies need to come down on him a little harder, I feel. They and they got to be careful too. I understand they can't say anything, but they need to go, okay, yeah, you can't come on my stream until you're clean, man. Alex Ogle, pitch, Donald Trump, the movie. Sydney Sweeney to star as Stormy Daniels. Plot. Sweeney walks around in various American locations in the Stars and Stripes bikini. Trump says huge from time to time. I love it. I want to see a copy of that screenplay on my desk by Tuesday. I will greenlight it. Ardent, LOL, sold. So yeah, EVS I think is weighing in an attempt to farm the drama, sort of like, because I think he's running out of drama that actually applies to him. And he said I don't know, he made some sort of statement like that Nick Rekieta's kids should have been the ones to step up and help the other kids, which, I mean, I guess he has kind of a minor point, but what are you doing, man? Why even weighing in on this? Like, there's so much else going on in the world, and with him, I don't understand why he's suddenly weighing in on Nick Rekieta other than to sort of pump up his stream. And, I think, I don't think Ethan has the necessarily the chops, I'll say, to keep his stream going the way he's been doing it. I don't think you can't drama farm forever. You can do it for a while, but when you run out of drama, you're done. And then you get desperate. If he's now fully dependent on, say, super chats, and I know he's made a ton of money, God bless him. You better save that money, dude, because I think the drama's coming to an end real fast. You got to be interesting, too. Is he interesting? Well, I thought he was when he was drawing comics and talking about the comic book industry, but that was something he knew. And, he said himself that, I did draw streams, but they were boring and nobody really watched them. Well, how many are you going to do? There's only so many you can watch, number one. Number two, if you're admitting you're boring and your skills are boring, what does that say about you? So now you're going to make this transition to the Howard Stern of the internet? I don't think it's going to work. I think he's a little too old for it. And I think he's slowly stepping out of his wheelhouse into the YouTube world, and I don't think that's going to really work for him. He's not a comedian. Dick Masterson, he's a comedian. Like, he's doing the Howard Stern thing. He can kind of do it. He hasn't gotten the fan base of Howard Stern or even an EVS, I think. I don't think his stream is bigger than Ethan's, but it's hard to be outrageous on the internet. It was easier for Howard to be outrageous on radio because there were rules and lines you couldn't cross. But on the internet, there are people showing their junk on live streams and banging each other, and doing God knows what. People shooting each other on streams, and I got this bulletproof vest. Don't do that, by the way. They're doing all sorts of crazy things. There's a guy who's eating himself to death. There's other people who've done the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I don't even seek those videos out. I mean, I've watched a handful of them just because I'm terminally online, and occasionally I come across something. But Jesus, if I actually looked for this stuff, I don't even know what I would have seen. So, the Nick Rekieta thing, and I think Nick to some extent got pulled into that, but I think it was just the money, you're making so much money and you just figure, well, now I can buy fancy whiskey. And then the next thing you know, well, maybe I'll do a little bump and maybe we'll have some another couple over and we'll do some swinging. And maybe that's his thing. I don't know. But when you got 5 kids, you shouldn't be swinging, in my view. It's not a good lesson for your children. And I don't think your children should see your side piece come over and leave the bedroom with her in her underwear and using your bathroom. Like, that's like, if you want to, maybe if you compartmentalize it and you go to hotels and your children never see it, and your parents don't even know about it. It's just it's an adult night out, and then you go to a place and you have orgies or whatever, and then you come back and then you are a responsible adult. Maybe you can compartmentalize it, but you can't keep drinking until like you can't function. You can't keep taking drugs till you can't function. When your kids are complaining they don't have food and their clothes are the same clothes they've been wearing for days, that is a huge, and that's what I heard, that is a huge problem. And that is like social services problem. That is like, they're going to take your kids away, idiot. Here's what I predict for Nick Rekieta. He's going to eventually get clean. Him, his wife, and his side piece are all going to break up. He's going to be divorced, I think. I think it's very unlikely he salvages his marriage from this, because it'll probably be revealed that either she's the trigger for him or he's the trigger for her, and they can't be together without doing drugs. They'll probably get back together once and relapse, and then they'll have to go back. If they're lucky, they won't lose their kids. Or one of them will get clean, and the other one won't. And it could be a very dark time for one of them. Or it could be possible both of them end up on the street. I mean, there was one report that he had track marks on his arms. That is like, oh my God, that's heavy S. You got track marks on you, that is like big time junkie territory, if true. It's alleged. I don't know if it's true. I'm just repeating what I heard third or fourth hand. So you're doing inject into your veins drugs. You're on the verge of like living in a shoebox and doing horrible things to get those drugs. Ardent, I think he might salvage the marriage if they both sober up. They would have to both do it, and the rehab people would have to say, okay, you need to be, they would have to have checks and balances. You cannot trust a junkie, even an ex-junkie. You have to put them on a very serious watch system for a long time. And then, after a couple of years of being clean, then you start to trust them again, and hopefully they never go back. But it's a long road, and he seems very deep into it. I'm no expert, but I have watched 27 seasons of Intervention. He looked effed up, man. Like super effed up. Alex Ogle, Nick Rekieta is a tragedy. His coverage of the Trump impeachment trial and Rittenhouse trial was peerless. Such a shame he's fallen so far. It is very sad. He would be great now. I would love to hear his take on this trial. He could be making huge bank on it too. That's the sad thing. He's likely, and Jeremy over at the Courting made this point, he's likely also addicted to the internet. And he may have to stop that too. He may have to get clean, and for his kids, go back to a regular life and never go on the internet again. At least not in the capacity he was. Go back to his law practice. If he, God forbid, he might even lose his law license. Who knows where he's going to end up? I don't know what drugs and the law license do. I mean, you have to look at it this way. Would you trust Nick Rekieta as your lawyer now? I would be like, I don't know, man. Ardent, I'm a recovering addict myself, so I have a degree of sympathy, but you're absolutely right about not trusting an addict in early recovery. Yeah. And I'm hopeful for the guy. I hope he recovers, but you have to draw some very serious lines and then wait and hope that he has hit rock bottom, and now he's like determined never to go back to the bottle, to the drugs, and to his previous lifestyle. But he's a long way from that, it appears to me, you know. And it's very bad too in terms of the alcohol, because you look at him on one of his later streams, he looks sickly. He looks very sickly. And there was one guy in intervention, and they did the intervention and he got clean, but he died a year later because he had damaged his liver so massively. Even though he got clean, he kind of never recovered. His body just didn't recover. He had been abusing alcohol for far too long. And let me tell you something, that guy was drinking buckets. So Nick Rekieta may be in that sort of situation. I don't know. He looked very pale and sickly on the stream I saw. And I was just like, oof, this is not good. So he could already be dead. You know, he could be like locked into a 2 to 3 year time period where even if he gets clean, he could be dead. And that would be terrible. He's got 5 kids. He had a life. He has a career. But it's very bad. Look, and if he didn't have kids, my reaction would be different. My reaction would be like, well, I don't want to see a guy do that, but it's his life. Leave him alone. If he wants to drink himself to death, I mean, it's on him. It's not good. I wouldn't endorse it, but I would say, well, he has to hit rock bottom before he gets recovery. But when you got 5 kids, man, he's got to live for those kids. He's got to live for those kids. Ardent, he looked healthier in jail. Well, he probably couldn't drink in jail. Addicts tend to be very hard-headed until they hit rock bottom. And I sense, I don't know this for a fact, but I sense he hasn't hit rock bottom yet. And that is a real shame because he was involved. Part of the reason that I think he was triggered is because he's involved in a lawsuit, which I think he lost. It sounds like he shouldn't have lost it, and that may have pushed him further over the edge. But now he's gone on the stream and he said other things that may have gotten him in trouble regarding that. That's really bad too. I mean, I just feel so bad for his kids primarily. But, and the throuple stuff too, I'm not down with either. I mean, there was a time when I was a single guy. Like, I'm a single guy with no kids. So if you see me with 2 hotties and I'm like taking them 2 at a time, well, I'm a single guy. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm obviously just a sexed up maniac with a lot of money. But I'm not hurting anybody doing that. But when you have kids and then you're going to get into a throuple situation, that is just, to me, it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy mentally. It's unhealthy for the kids. You just shouldn't be doing that kind of crazy stuff when you're a parent. If you want to compartmentalize it and keep the kids very isolated, very compartmentalized away from that, and you have a sitter and they're the grandparents, and then you go out and do crazy things, but you come home and you're fine and you're sober and you're taking care of the kids, sure, you could do that. But unfortunately, I don't think people who engage in that behavior tend to think about anybody but themselves, because that's part of the reason they engage in that behavior. They're kind of hedonistic, and that's sort of selfish, or if it's not a selfish sort of vibe, it's definitely like it borders lines on selfishness, and it's a red flag for me now. And I used to date women who were into that kind of stuff, or I would try to anyway, and it took me a while to learn my lesson. It's not hot. It's kind of a red flag, in my opinion. And looking back on it, I realized why a lot of my relationships didn't work, So, Indie Phantom, single guy with 2 hotties. No shame, but watch out for those crazy women. Yeah, I'm a little too old for that too. I was just dating someone. We finally parted company, but we had a good time, and I enjoy being in a I discovered later in life that I quite enjoy being in a monogamous situation because there's not a lot of drama in that, and it's nice. I like it. I like being in a monogamous situation. Unfortunately, and ironically, when I was in my 20s, I was like, F that. I'm going to bang every girl I can get my hands on. But I had no game, so I wasn't able to, but I would have had I been famous. Had I been famous, I'd probably be dead. But later in life, I realized, I really enjoy having having one person. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find that one person, but that's the story of my life. I'm not saying it's all on them. I'm just saying it's, that's my situation. And it's like, I've had friends who were in throuple situations, let's say, and I would just be like, how do you even do that? Like, how do you arrange it? Who pays for dinner? Like, what's going on? There's so much logistics. And then after I got a little information, I was just like, oh man, I don't think I want that. Like, I had a girl, well, she wasn't really my girlfriend, but we dated for a while. And when I say dated, we had sex for a while. And we went out one night, and she tried to tee me up for that. But it wasn't even entering my brain. But she introduced me to a friend of hers that she met. She had only recently met her, and they seemed friends, and we were going out. And I said, sure, she can come with us. And then at the same time, a friend of mine had just broken up with his girlfriend. He was really depressed. And so I was a good wingman, and I sort of lobbed this girl in his direction, and they ended up hooking up, and they dated for a while. Mostly they hooked up. And then the girl I was dating turned to me and said, that was really nice what you did for Frank. And I said, oh, well, she's single, he's single, why not? And she said, well, I wanted the three of us to have sex. And I was like, what? Yeah, that's why I brought her in and thought we could all go out together because I figured we could come back to my place and the three of us could have had sex. And I'm like, you were going to set that up? Why didn't you tell me? And she was just like, well, I mean, you did something nice for your friend. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess I did. So that was my near miss with that. I don't know what I would have done, though. That would have been probably a little much for me even then. I mean, I was a little older then. I wasn't a spring chicken, but I don't know. Now I think I could handle it, but I kind of don't want it. Indie Phantom. Being single for many years now and quite enjoy the bachelor lifestyle for the most part. Like anything, it has ups and downs, but I pretty much chose this life early on, had a few decent girlfriends. Yeah, I did too. It just gets harder when you get older. And sometimes you think, oh, well, maybe I should have had kids, but yeah, I wasn't good with kids. I like kids. I've always been around kids because I have such a large extended family. But like, kids are not for me. I just never really wanted it. I never even really seriously considered it. The only time I thought about kids, my parents would ask me all the time. I said, well, if I become a millionaire, I'll probably have kids because I'll probably have everything. I'll have a boat, and I'll have a summer house, and then I might as well have some kids too. Get a girl. I want to have some kids. Ardent. Threesomes aren't worth the time unless you want to disappoint two women at once. Ardent. Yeah, no, it's a bit much. And from my friend who used to get it all the time, he said, no, the hard part is watching them go at it for hours after you're done. And I was just like, oh, wow, yeah, that seems a little disheartening. And like, what do you do? Go watch TV, make a sandwich. So it kind of depends upon what your situation is, and I mean, I could see it in a situation where, like, I don't know, you're a rock star. Rock stars do that kind of stuff, or maybe you become famous for something, and for a while you're on the top of the world, and you have one crazy night. That's something usually for your 20s or whatever, but. Something like that. I don't see it as people try to make it into a lifestyle, and I just look at them like, you're nuts. That's never going to work as a lifestyle. Not ever. You know, like the whole idea, oh, you have a harem? Like, culturally in the United States, that is not going to work, man. That is not going to work. There's no harem in the United States for a reason. Like, the guys who have harems, like, those women are locked down. They come from cultures where it's just like, oh yeah, they want husbands, and like this guy can provide for 2 or 3 or 4 women, so you know, that's fine. But yeah, that's even that. I'm sure there's a lot of jealousy there. Ardent, 10 minutes to razor. Yeah, I got to wrap this up. Holly dropped in though. Someone always gets jealous. Yes, 100%. 100% someone's going to get jealous. And I had an offer from some girl. I think it was like met her on an app or something, and then she was like, well, I have to tell you, I have a boyfriend. And I'm like, well, what the hell are we talking for? She's like, yeah, but I also date on the side. I go, listen, I don't want to be your backup boyfriend, so pass. That's what essentially it is. That's and a lot of it's women lining it up. It's like, oh, you know, I have 2 boyfriends. I'm like, no, you don't. You have the boyfriend you're tolerating now, and now you have the future boyfriend you're teeing up for when old boyfriend finally pisses you off. That's what you're really doing. And then the moment he's gone, you'll be with the other one for a while until you get bored of him, and then you'll be like, well, I'm going to tee up the next one. Oh, you object? Oh, well, that's not very enlightened of you. Yeah, and then, you know, the whole pattern just repeats until your looks go. So, for the guys are just horny. They don't, you know, I think a lot of guys who do that kind of stuff, they don't have any girlfriends. They're just banging chicks. Indie Phantom, the Tinder age is not for me. It's really stupid. You know, I'd been on Tinder for a while, and my brother was on it first after he got divorced, and he told me about it first while I was married. And I was like, oh man, that sounds awesome. Well, I missed that. I'm married. And then I got divorced, and I was like, oh, let me try this Tinder thing. And I was just like, oh my God, this is Tinder? You know, like anything else, like the apps always work like this. It's like the pitch to the guys is always like, sex! Get sex! And then you go there and it's all guys. And maybe there's like a handful of women who are like, oh yeah, they're hot to get laid on the new app, but yeah, it quickly turns into a sausage fest unless they make it all for the women, and then in which case it's like, well, what are you offering me? So the one app I did like, and I got to wrap this up, but the Bumble app was pretty good, where they had like 3 or 5 minute dating, and you would get to text somebody, but it was timed for 3 to 5 minutes. I forget, maybe it was 5. And that was pretty good because it was like speed dating, but in chat. And sometimes you would get, you know, and you had the choice. You could say, yeah, you know, give me a text sometime, or no, I'm not interested. And then you could be semi-anonymous, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And then they dropped the feature for some reason, probably because it was offered free, and I guess they weren't making any money on it. But I thought it was a great feature. I met a few women off of that, but other than that, it's pretty much a hellscape. My just previous girlfriend was great, though. I really enjoyed her. I met her on Tinder. That was the first really good person I dated off of Tinder. It didn't work out, but we parted company, I think, very amicably. But I'm back on the prowl. So speaking of which, I'm going to swipe some girls and watch Razor Fist. So I hope you watch Razor Fist too, because he always has some great political takes. And I think he's going to be shot out of a cannon after this Trump verdict. And he knows way more legal stuff. I mean, Sticks and Hammer knows a lot, but man, the book knowledge in that kid's brain is very impressive. And so I don't want to miss it. So thank you all for tuning in to the surprise live stream on the Trump verdict. That's it for me, Tony D. I'll see you guys on Saturday at the 2nd annual Cryptids and Paranormal event in Parlin, New Jersey. That's 10 to 5. I'll be there with a bunch of other authors. See you there, Holly. And then I will also be at the Philadelphia Comic-Con on Sunday from 10 to 3 or 4, I think. That's in Essington, PA at the Clarion Hotel. So stop on by. Ardent, me and Stormy met on Plenty of Fish, but turned out we ran into each other a few times over the years. Oh, interesting. Ardent, later, bud. See you in Razor's chat if there is one. Indie Phantom, yeah, Razor will be great. Enjoy at all. Alex Ogle, I have Razor Fist queued up and raring to go. Top stream, Tony. Thank you, my friend. Holly M, good night. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.